Welcome everyone to This is Jackson. I'm your host, Barry Rosenzweig from the Jackson School District. Well, when we talk about education, we think of several things. We think of students, yes, they are to be educated, but we think of the teachers, those persons who have the responsibility and the duty to have our children be the best that they can be. Well, today we are celebrating the best of the best, Teachers of the Year in our own Jackson School District. Absolutely my favorite shows of the year. Teachers of the Year, representing their school. And one of the things that makes it so wonderful and so unique, administrators actually have no vote in who is the Teacher of the Year from his or her particular school. It is the teachers themselves, the colleagues of the Teachers of the Year, that choose the Teacher of the Year. And it's strictly that way. So when we talk about Teacher of the Year, it is really an honor. It is always a pleasure for me as hosting this show, Teachers of the Year, to be here with the best of the best. So let me welcome all of our Teachers of the Year from our middle schools and our high schools here in the Jackson School District. So I'm going to begin to my far left, April Riccardi, and she is a science teacher from Getz School. Welcome, April.
Hi.
Good to see you, and welcome aboard. And to my immediate left, we have James Convery. We're going to call him Jim today, not James, but James Convery from the, which middle school? How about McCullough?
McCullough, yes, sir.
That sounds good. Social studies?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay, well, we could talk to you about our government and things, everything. Well, we won't get into that right now, but it is exciting. What a great time for social studies.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the history of our country.
Lots going on.
Amazing. Wow, lots going on, that's right. To my right, from Jackson Liberty High School, we have Mary Russo, also science.
Yes.
All right, Mary, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And to my far right, we have Anna Cafara. Now, did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Cafara?
Yes.
Good. Anna Cafara, world language from Jackson Memorial High School. So middle school, high school, welcome aboard. Congratulations to each of
Thank
you
you.
Thank you.
on becoming Teacher of the Year. It's wonderful. I'm going to start with this. In 2 or 3 words, if it comes out to 4, it's okay. And I'm going to start from my right to left. I'm going to start with Anna this time from Memorial High School. How do you feel about being Teacher of the Year? What happened to you when you heard the announcement?
I was shocked. It's very humbling. It's very humbling.
be Teacher of the Year.
Yes, and to be validated by my peers and my colleagues.
Exactly. Nobody else
Right.
else votes except your colleagues, your
Right.
fellow educators with you in the school.
Absolutely. So
Wow.
very humbling.
Terrific. Mary?
I also felt shocked, but a feeling of pride, a feeling of honor just took over. It was really, really special.
Wow. I know I never had the pleasure during my years as a teacher, and I taught 21 years before I went into administration, but I never had the honor of being a Teacher of the Year. So when I'm with you, I am one of your admirers, a true admirer from here, from the heart, because I've been an educator my entire adult life, so it's wonderful. Jim, how about you? What did you feel?
Shocked.
Shocked.
I was shocked and humbled also. Very surprised.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. From the McCullough Middle School. And April, how about you from Getz?
I was definitely honored that my colleagues were to think of me
Wow.
that way.
Tell me this. Out of the 4 schools, Getz, McCullough, Liberty, Memorial, do any of you have a parking space?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? Yes?
No.
Yes.
Liberty does not. Oh, wait a minute. But you have your own, right,
Yes.
April?
Mhm.
You have your own parking space designated with a sign.
Yes.
Teacher of the Year.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
Same at McCullough, same at Memorial.
Yes, but I don't use it. I'm a creature of habit, so I'm using my same old parking space the whole time.
Guess where I'm gonna park when I go to Memorial? It's gonna be an open space.
Yeah.
Now, Liberty has not chosen to designate a Teacher of the Year space. Do they do something special in the name of a Teacher of the Year?
Yeah, they do have, by the main office, they have, the Teacher of the Year has a plaque, and it gets to stay up there for forever.
In
So-
perpetuity.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's a very special
That is.
honor. You know, every time someone walks past that hallway, I see everyone glancing up, and the thought of being there is, wow.
It
It's
is.
pretty special.
Yeah. I tell you, I am always honored, and today is no different. I love it being with you. April,
Yes, sir.
Get School, science. Tell us about what you teach at the Get School. What are your responsibilities there?
Well, this year I teach 7th grade, and I have one 6th grade section of science. I taught science 6th grade forever until the last 2 years I moved up to 7th grade.
Oh,
So this is, I have a new room, so I moved up to a different area of the building.
oh, okay.
And
Getz is a sprawling school.
yes,
It's one level. If you haven't been there, folks, it's an amazing school. It's one level, and it goes forever. It's all different wings, directions. I mean, you truly need a map to get around over there. But it is a wonderful school. I remember when it was built, you know, so many years ago, as an open school, the first concept of the open school. That didn't last too long.
not a good idea.
They built walls like after the first or second year. That was it.
Yeah.
It was used to call it the beehive when they first opened, because wherever you sat, you would hear buzz from everything around you because it was open. So if you were in the last row of a class, you'd be listening to the class behind you and hear what was going on, and maybe not hear so much of what in front. But it was a concept, and in education we do change concepts very often, and it was a good try, and it just didn't work that well. But you're doing 7th grade and one class
One class, 6th grade.
of 6th grade. Jim, how about you, social studies?
All 6th grade social studies, which in McAuliffe would be ancient civilizations. So
Okay.
roughly from the Ice Age up to the fall of Rome.
Wow, okay, that's quite a...
Yeah, it's a lot to cover in half a year.
I just thought of that. Yes, in a half a year.
Yeah.
That's right. April, are you also half year, or do you?
Yes, we do semesters.
And then you do semesters
We just
as
got
well?
new students in the
Yeah.
past, 10
2
days?
weeks, yeah.
Oh, that was the changeover?
Yeah.
Right, okay. What do they call that?
Transition day?
Transition day,
Yes.
thank you. Couldn't remember. Transition day, thank you. Wow, how about at Liberty? And you're in science also, Mary, so
Yes.
what are your responsibilities at Liberty?
Well, I teach AP biology, and I also teach general biology. So I have some students for half a year, for a semester, and I have other students for the full year. So it's
okay.
interesting because I also have 9th grade through 12th grade, and that's probably my favorite part of my job. I really do get to see a lot of different types of students. So.
I'm just thinking about the preps.
Well.
9, 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah, I have to say though, so 9th grade is a mix. It's mostly 9th graders, but I do have some 10th and, believe it or not, 11th graders, depending on various reasons for that.
Okay.
For example, this semester I actually have a brother-sister, and the sister is a junior and the brother is a sophomore, and they told me they were brother and sister because they were fighting a lot. And I could tell. I said, oh, okay, yeah, sibling
Okay.
rivalry. So it was very funny to see that. And
Wow,
then the
wow.
AP is a mix of 11th and 12th graders. So I get a little bit of everybody.
You have to be a psychologist as well.
In some,
handling
sometimes.
brothers and sisters,
Yeah,
sibling
sometimes.
rivalries.
Sometimes.
Wonderful, I love it. Absolutely amazing. And no day is ever the same, am I correct?
Never.
That's very
Never
true.
the same.
Never.
Anna, Memorial.
Yes.
You are world language. So which language or languages do you do?
I teach Spanish.
Spanish, okay.
So I usually teach 10th graders. The course that I teach most often is Spanish 2 honors, but I've taught 1 through 4, so it just depends on the year what level I get.
Okay.
So, but that's the
Honors,
one.
much different than the regular?
Yes, it is.
Level?
We tend to push the honors kids a lot further within the language than the general education classes.
Wow,
So it's a lot more vigor for them.
wow, excellent. A lot of challenges in all of your teaching. By the way, let me go back to April for a second. In science, what are your disciplines within the science that you work with your students?
7th grade science, we usually we do more of the cells heredity,
Oh,
and then
okay.
6th grade science is more earth science.
Ah, okay.
So we have
Thank
to
you.
cover all different, a little bit of magnetism here and there, but for the most part, it's mostly 7th grade cells and heredity. A little bit of bio, a little introduction before they get to high school.
Oh, okay, as well. I just didn't know the delineation. Thank you for helping me on that. Next, are we ready? Tell us, I'll start with Anna over here from Memorial High School. Anna, your background as a teacher, how many years have you been here in Jackson? Were you in other places besides that in your career? Could you bring us up to date?
Sure. So I graduated from Stockton College, and I actually did my student teaching at Memorial. I ended up getting a job at Toms River East, but then came back because they needed a Spanish teacher, and I just enjoyed my student teaching so much at Memorial. I absolutely loved it. So I ended up coming back. I've been here for 12 years, but teaching overall for 13.
Wow, how wonderful. Thank you. Mary, how about you at Liberty here with science?
Well, this is my 6th year here in the Jackson School District. Before that, I taught for 8 years in Tinton Falls. I was
Oh,
at
sure.
Monmouth Regional High School. I have taught biology for most of my career. I have taught some forensics classes before, which I really liked.
Really?
That was a lot of fun. I also teach, not currently, but I've taught at Brookdale Community College a little bit. So I've been around Monmouth and Ocean County now for 14 years.
Wow. So you've done adjunct teaching at Brookdale, for
Yes.
example. And what discipline did you work with there?
Also teaching biology. I taught it for about 3.5 years, non-majors, and also Biology 101 for students who were really seriously interested in maybe a career in science.
Wonderful. Variety as well. Wow. And forensics.
And forensics, yes.
Boy, excellent. That's a very fascinating area. Wow. Jim,
Yes,
social studies.
yes.
And the history of your educational career
Well,
and teaching.
I am a product of Jackson. I went through all the Jackson school system. There
Hoorah,
you go.
Jackson. All right.
Graduated from Georgian Court College,
Yes.
and I started teaching 26 years ago at Lakehurst Elementary School, 7th and 8th grade. And then I moved to Jackson and been teaching at McAuliffe since 1993, since the school opened. I've started an alternative. I've taught science, I've taught literacy, I've taught language arts, reading, math also, because we had 5th grade in the building at that time also. And for about the last, I guess, 13 years, I've only been doing social studies and literacy. Now it's just social studies.
Right. You know, I'm smiling because when you start in elementary, you're everything. There isn't anything you don't try because you have to do everything, you know, and it just gives you that edge when they say to do anything, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you do it with a good heart and you dig in and whatever, you know, educational specifics you need to make yourself a better teacher and more qualified in that area, you just do it, that's all.
Whatever's asked of me.
So that's why I smile, because you started in the elementary level.
Yeah, 5th grade and
Yes.
6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So those 4 subjects, those 4 age levels.
Right, terrific.
Yeah.
Very, very good. And April, how about you? Your years in teaching and so on?
I graduated from Trent State College.
Yes.
Well, otherwise known as the College of New Jersey.
Yes.
Show my age. I student taught, part of my student teaching was here at Holman Elementary. I started
okay.
teaching at Getz Middle School. I've been there for 20 years. And just like Jim, I had elementary, so I taught math, science, and social studies for years. And then I went to math and science. And I've only been teaching science primarily for the past, maybe 5 years, I guess.
Okay.
So we had all, so we could teach everything.
Right. Wonderful. So thank you for all that. Well, we certainly have a variety of backgrounds and of different areas that you've taught in. It's wonderful. And each of you bring something different to your educational table to present to your students. But the one thing you have in common, your love of education. So I need to ask you this. When I remember the opening, and I'm going to jump back to Jim for just a moment. You were there were you there the day that it opened officially?
Yeah,
at McCullough?
I was a permanent sub at that time, but I went basically the next day right into the alternative school,
Okay.
and that's where I stayed for 7 years.
And I did a TV show on that opening. And we had the pleasure to meet Krista McCullough's mother. She was there, and she got to speak as well. And as you all know, you know that Krista McCullough was the astronaut, and she lost her life going up on that mission, and very early into the mission, just a few seconds after liftoff. But Krista McCullough said something that all of our teachers here, and all of us who are spending our lives in education, and no matter what our job is, we want our students to be the best they can be. Krista McCullough said, teachers touch the future. And everyone here lives by that precept because they're teachers of the year. They've shown not only to their students and to you parents of their wonderful students, your children, they've shown how expert they are in what they do, how passionate they are for what they do, and how their lives are wrapped up in having each child that comes into their classroom be the best that that person can be. So, parents, thank you for letting us, all of us, we in the Jackson School District, be the people that work with your children to help them grow and be the best that they can be and go forward into their lives with great knowledge. So we appreciate all of that. And thank you, by the way, to the Board of Ed. They back our programs. And I always like to say thank you to the Board of Ed. You're terrific. Thank you for helping all of us have the tools to work with in the classroom, get the materials we need. And, you know, rarely, I don't even know if you've ever said no. When you need something in the classroom, you get it through your supervisor, and they go, of course, higher up through the principals and whatever, and into the Board of Ed. But the board is just marvelous here in Jackson. Thank you, Board of Education, and our superintendent. Thank you so much, Dr. Jenko. Thank you so much for your assistance in holding everything together. Now, Mary, when you were a youngster, did you play with Barbie dolls after school when you were a kid and you always wanted to be a teacher, or did it just come like when you were in college or after or whenever?
Well, it did start off when I was young, and I think back to that time because my dad, I think, really inspired me to want to play teacher because my father was a student for most of my childhood. He was always, my father moved here when he was only 13. He moved from Italy. He didn't speak the language, and he really wanted to be the first person in his family to graduate from college.
Wow.
And when he did, he then went on to get his graduate degree. So when I was little, he was always studying. So my sister and I would play teacher in the next room. with whatever stuffed animals we had.
There you go.
And I would make her do work and I would grade it and she would do the same to me, and we did that for many, many
Now,
years.
did you have a little chalkboard?
We sure did.
There you go.
We sure did.
You had your own chalkboard. Good, good. Now,
Yes.
did you have a timeout place in the room for
No.
someone who was bad?
No, we didn't.
All your students were marvelous. The
Well-
teddy bear, the giraffe, whoever it
Yes,
was.
they didn't talk back, so it was easy.
Okay, I just needed
my
to
my
check on
sister may have on occasion, but for the most part, everyone participated nicely.
you. Mary Russo. Shades of the past when you were thinking about being a teacher. How wonderful. And the fact that your father, always wanted education and wanted you to have an education and to foster that knowledge within you that this is what you were going to do. That's it. Not much choice. Mary,
Yeah.
this is what you're going to be.
Yeah, I think I felt it very early. I mean, I did sort of change course as I grew up. I thought maybe I wanted to be a doctor. I knew I liked science. I
Right.
didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And then somehow it came back
Yeah,
to teaching.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Jim,
Yes.
how about you? How did you get interested in becoming a teacher?
You're not going to ask about Barbie dolls or anything?
Well, I won't.
We had $6 Million Man dolls and G.I. Joe dolls. Those
Oh,
were good stuff.
now, okay.
But I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was younger.
Really?
Yes, I did.
No.
Then I developed a fear of heights, so I couldn't do it anymore.
Well, there you go, the old glasses.
I would say it was at a younger age. My dad was a teacher,
Yes.
and he was a vice principal. So,
Yes.
he inspired me at a younger age to pursue a career that he pursued.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my whole family did. My brother's a police officer, he was a police officer.
right.
My sister's a teacher.
Yes.
My other brother was in the military, my dad was in the military. So he inspired all of us, and that was the path I decided to follow.
Yep. And I know your father very well. We worked together for years and years, and your family and everyone.
Yeah.
So I've had the pleasure of working with the Convery family for
A long time.
a long, long time. You're right.
Yeah,
But you did follow in those footsteps.
I did.
Yeah. How wonderful.
He's a great guy, he's a great man, and he inspired
Yes.
all of us.
He
Absolutely.
He really is. Even to this day, I remember all of my interactions and with your dad, and none of them were ever anything but stellar, and I learned from him, particularly how to stay calm.
So have I.
I cannot believe he could stay calm in
Most
No,
situations,
it's
absolutely.
any situation. He was calm.
I put him through some of them, so.
Did
Very
you?
calm.
All right. Well, it's wonderful and good to have another convert
Yeah.
in the educational field.
Thank you.
Wow. April, why a teacher?
Since I was in elementary school, I always wanted to be a teacher. And I always tell the story, and I just recently told to my husband that when I was in elementary school, I used to go to the library and take out this, it was old textbook about how to be a teacher.
Oh,
I never
okay.
read it because there's no pictures in it, nothing exciting. I took it out so often that when I left elementary school, the librarian gave me the book. So,
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? And you've always wanted that.
always, never swayed.
And I have to ask you this. Do you still have that book today?
It's funny because my parents just recently moved out of my childhood home, and I thought for sure I kept it in one of the boxes, and I don't know if it got misplaced in the move or that, but I did hold on to it for a very long time.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how wonderful. The best part is the librarian gave you the book
Yes.
because you took it out so often. Isn't
Yeah.
that wonderful? Even she knew that you were going to be a teacher,
Right.
and that was your passion. That was
was
it.
it.
Anna, you're a teacher.
Yes, I am.
How could that be?
I'm not
How did
sure.
it happen?
Well, it didn't happen when I was younger. I really had no idea.
Okay.
But like Mary, my parents were Italian immigrants. So I always grew up speaking Italian, and I think that love of languages was instilled very early on.
Ah, yes.
So then when I went through high school and through college, it was really my study abroad trips to different countries that really helped instill that love of languages, and I just felt like I wanted to share that with my students and have them realize that it can be done. You can be multilingual and learn different languages and just try to help them accomplish that goal.
Wow.
So So,
It's wonderful.
yeah.
I like that, though, that you will never forget your heritage, like what Mary said as well. You don't forget that, and you want to carry forth
Right.
to the love of a language and one other than our normal, everyday English that
and
we
the different
use.
cultures too that come along with that. I mean,
Oh,
there's so many
sure.
different cultures, so.
I tend to forget about that.
Yeah.
Sure, you teach the culture to go with the
Yes.
language. Wow, how wonderful. Tell me this. You told all of us and our viewing audience how you felt, in just a few words you did, how you felt when you received the notification of becoming Teacher of the Year for your school. Within that framework, what do you find that you want to see happen in education, or that you want specifically by being a teacher for your students? Pick something of that nature and share with us something from deep within your educational soul as a teacher. What you would want for your students, or you want for education in general, that you truly want to happen. Anybody first? You pick.
I
Jim?
think I would want my students, if I'm going to talk about the students, not just to be successful, but to start taking a bigger role in their community and the world around them. I'm hoping to inspire them to do that. To be honest, my generation's pretty much made a mess of things, in the nation and the world. And I'm hoping that these guys, the younger kids, will be the ones who can straighten it out. So hopefully by teaching them, relating some of the experiences I've had, they'll take a more active role and they will get involved and fix things.
I do just want to temper what you said with one thing. I am several generations older than you, literally 2 or 3 generations older than you, probably 3 generations. And we didn't do such a good job either. I think every generation wants to make the world better to a certain degree, and would love to see no war anymore, and a world peace, which, if it would ever come, would be mankind's savior or saving grace. So we all tend to feel at some time we didn't do a good job.
No.
My generation, yeah.
I think a lot of people are taking a less active role anymore, though. They don't want to be involved, and I'm hoping that they will.
Well, your students, in 10 years from now are the next leaders
Yeah.
of our country. So thank you for wanting that. Anyone else? Your feeling?
I'd have to agree. I think, for my students, I'm trying to teach them to be empathetic about all these different cultures and different languages, and trying to see the world as this bigger place instead of just where they are, so that they can hopefully make a difference and do better.
Yeah.
So,
The world is one whole world.
right.
We're all the same. We're human beings. We live and we eventually pass on. Do something while you're alive that's worthwhile, positive. Wonderful. Next. Sharon?
I always
Oh,
try
okay,
to,
April.
I hope that when they leave my classroom for the day, that they have that spark to something to go home and say, you know what, to mom and dad, this is what we talked about today, or something that they learned. Just share their knowledge with someone else, and even just to think about it. Think about science is ever changing every day. So I hope that.
Oh, it is. Oh, my goodness, yes. Particularly for an older guy like me. And the technology overwhelms me. I'm getting to be not as afraid, but you're absolutely right. Every day, I know my 2 science teachers here, every day is incredible of what is being learned and what is new and different and amazing for humankind. But I love what April said, because when you go home, and if you remember when you were youngsters, I'm going to be your father for a moment. So what happened in school today? And the normal answer was?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I get that from my daughter every day.
Nothing.
Nothing.
What do you mean nothing? And then we go from there. So I love what you said. If a student can come home and have that spark, that little spark in their eye, and say, You can't believe what I learned today in Miss Riccardi's class. Miss Riccardi taught us, Wow. Parents live for that.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, they do. You know your parents too. Mary.
I think I would really like for my students to know that there's really no dream too big. There's no goal they can't reach. You know, it's funny because a lot of students will share with me, you know, their goals, their dreams, but then there's always that, I don't think that I don't know if I can really make that happen. And I want them to know that they can. And I've seen students do such great things, and I've had many students from the past come back, and they're doing it, and they can do anything. They can reach that brightest star if they really want to.
Wow. Love it. You all have dreams as educators of what you want for yourselves as teachers, to be the best you can be always, and for what you want your students to become, and to go out into the community, to go home and tell mom and dad, to share about the culture they're learning about in Spanish and what they're learning with their language, and to understand that there is no dream too big. You are Teachers of the Year. You really are. I'm getting very emotional. I'm sorry. I am truly honored to be with you. And I know that our public today has begun to understand how wonderful our Teachers of the Year are. May we have a shot of all of us, please? Thank you. And all of us here are from the Jackson School District. Careers, years of teaching, different backgrounds, but everyone here love what they do. When they go into work each day, you ready, guys? I'm just going to hit you with it from right to left, starting with Anna. You ready?
I guess so.
Okay. When you come to school, what do you think? The minute you walk in, what do you think about?
I think about my students. I think about what I'm going to teach that day and how I can affect them, and you know, how I can make a positive experience on them for that day.
Mary.
Will they want to listen to me today? How am I going to keep them? How am I going to keep them listening to me?
Back to the basics.
Yeah.
Back to basics. Boy, it always comes down to that. Jim, you walk in the door, what goes through your mind?
I'm nervous, even after all these years.
Really?
To make sure that everything, the goals I have, I can accomplish with the students, and they'll completely understand.
Okay. That threw me a bit. Yeah, after all the years.
After all the years, it's still almost like walking in the first day, even with, you know, the kids you've had for a few months.
Because you want it to be right.
Yeah.
Right.
You want it to go right, so they'll go home and say, Mom, Dad, you can't believe what I learned today. April, you come in that door.
What materials do I have? What lab are we going to do to support our goal for the day? What am I trying to teach them for the day?
Everything together. Teachers of the Year. You have been visiting with us on This is Jackson. We've been visiting with Teachers of the Year from our wonderful middle schools and high schools here in Jackson. April Riccardi, science teacher from the Getz Middle School. James Convery, Jim, social studies from the McCullough Middle School. Mary Russo, Liberty High School, science. And Anna Kafara from the Memorial High School, world languages. Ladies and gentlemen, the best of the best, Teachers of the Year for the 2017-2018 school year. Any final word that you may want to give before we close the show to our parents, to our children? You've got all of Jackson Township watching. Anybody, each of you, anything you want to say? You don't have to if you don't want to.
I'd like to thank Mr. R. I've known him for a very long time, and this was a really pleasurable experience. You know, I was nervous coming in here too, and everything turned out great. Thank you very much for everything.
My pleasure for being with you. Anyone else?
Yes, thank you very much. This was a very good experience.
Oh, okay, well, thank you. I told everyone before the show that, you know, we're going to be together for maybe 40 minutes or something, and of course the look was, 40 minutes on camera? You gotta be kidding me. And I told them it will fly by. Did it go fairly quickly?
Yes.
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 Ta-da! It did. But wow, such a pleasure. Well, anybody else before I close the show?
Can I just
Anybody
thank
else?
Gabby and Caitlin over here, the recorder and the director, two
There
of my
you
former
go.
students over there.
Thank you, guys. And you know what? We are here in the Jackson Liberty High School, TV studio, media studio, and all of these students, they run the cameras, they do the editing, they do the sound work in the sound room, which is behind the glass, which obviously is behind the cameras there. We've got 3 cameras working. Everybody has their headsets on. They are terrific, and I want to say, of course, thank you to Harry Ferrone and Tony Compitello, and to Ethan Noble, the 3 persons who are the creators of our high school media centers and TV tech studios and classes and JTV itself. So thank you, everyone, and
Thank you.
again, all of you, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you, sir.
Parents, students, everyone watching today, you've been watching This is Jackson, and we've been honoring our Teachers of the Year from our middle and high schools right here in the Jackson School District. Take care. We'll see you next time on This is Jackson. So what happens is we can relax because